What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video, and I know everybody is just as hungry and just as desperate to get anything football at this point. I don't know what's going on right now in the NFL world right now. I mean, Giants OTAs are going on. We're not really getting the full scoop about what's going on in there. I guess they're not allowing media inside or whatever. I'm checking Giants.com, just completely dry. Like, news from 5 days ago is still on the main page. Like, this is ridiculous, man. This is absolutely ridiculous. I need to know what's going on. But until then, let's talk some New York Giants football. Before we start, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button for me. It helps me out a lot. And make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. So I really wanted to get into this one because obviously the New York Giants are growing in expectations by day when it comes to how they're going to do at the during the regular season, being with the depth chart that they have. And one thing that I've noticed that the New York Giants have that they haven't had in a very long time is actual depth. Like we don't have any like crazy top heavy positions. Like there are some positions that are really deep, just not very top heavy, like the edge rusher position. We have some decent guys there, not really a star yet. We don't really have a star yet, but we have a long list of edge rushers that can be useful in the regular season, like things like that. We have a lot of depth on this team. So with depth comes sometimes some surprise players that pop up out of nowhere and wind up being a very I guess significant piece to this New York Giants team. So with that being said, I've got 5 players that are quote-unquote sleeper players in 2021. Now, the first player I'm going to mention, I have some expectations for, but I feel like every time we talk about this New York Giants team, we just tend to forget his name just because he barely played last season, and that is second-year safety Xavier Mckinney. Listen, this guy was probably the best safety in the 2020 NFL draft, and we drafted him in the second round. He fell all the way to us in the second round, and he barely played this season, but when he last season, but when he did play, especially in that Cowboys game, he had 1 interception and dropped another interception, or no, there was a penalty on that interception that could have went to the house. So Xavier Mckinney is probably set to have a really good season. We just always forget about him because we list these other players on the defense. We talk about these other players. The defensive back room is absolutely stacked, and we just tend to forget about Xavier Mckinney. Like every time we talk about the defensive backs, we mention all the names: Jabril Peppers, Julian Love, James Bradbury, Darnay Holmes, our new rookies, Aaron Robinson, and then I think I said Darius Jackson already, and then Darnay. And then, all these other players. And then we're like, okay, Xavier McKinney. We forgot Xavier McKinney too. Like, this guy can really have a spectacular season compared to what he did last year in limited play, how well he played. If he plays a full season, he may take some starting snaps over Logan Ryan. So with that being said, Xavier McKinney, I mean, everybody seems to forget his name and mention it at the end, but this guy can really be an important piece of this defense. Next, we're going to have another name that used to be a highlight name for us, and then we'll get into more of the sleeper guys. But coming in at number 4 is Darius Slayton. Now, last year I said this. I said, I was having some high hopes for Darius Slayton. I said that him coming into this role, as a number one receiver would kind of test him out and see, he would then be boom or bust from there on. Not in the literal sense, but, either really good production or really bad production being covered by number 1 corners, basically most of the time. So, that obviously didn't work out, but this is the perfect situation for Darius Slayton here in 2021. We got ourselves a number 1 receiver in Kenny Golladay. We have burners as well. That is not just Darius Slayton. Adding in John Ross, adding in Kadarius Toney, who can go deep as well, and then adding in Kenny Golladay, who's one of the better deep threats in the NFL. All these guys can stretch the field, and Darius Slayton is not just the only one. So you won't have that single high safety just shading over Darius Slayton the complete time. That safety is going to have to worry about 3 or 4 other targets going deep before he even looks at Darius Slayton, and that's where he can make his money. If you go back to 2019, Darius Slayton had a phenomenal year in his rookie year. Missing the first 2 games and then really coming on during that Tampa Bay game is because he was being matched up with lesser talented corners and not the best defensive backs, like he was being covered by the best defensive backs by each team every single game last season, and he was just not able to create separation, just not able to catch the ball in between traffic, wasn't able to use his route running ability to create separation. He just wasn't very good with number 1 defenders. But adding in Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, John Ross, and leaving in Sterling Shepard, like, this guy now has an opportunity to really shine with with coverage being rolled to other people and not Darius Slayton. So he can go right back to his 2019 days where he was being matched up with lesser talented cornerbacks, lesser talented safeties, or whatever the case, whoever's covering him, and he'll be able to make his money that way. Because I believe Darius Slayton is a steal in the 5th round. I just don't believe he's so much of a steal to be a number 1 receiver. I definitely think he's going to be a really good number 2, if not a phenomenal number 3. So Darius Slayton is set to have a really good season in 2021. Next up, at number 3, we have an offensive lineman, one of my favorite guys. Everybody on my channel knows he's one of my favorite guys, and that is Matt Peart. Now listen, Matt Peart is going to have some stiff competition here with Nate Solder. Listen, Nate Solder is no slouch, okay? I know he had some issues ever since he's been with us, but you got to remember the potential standpoint. Nate Solder is a very, very good tackle and had a very, very good career up until he was with the New York Giants. Of course, there were some other things. There were some off-the-field issues. He had some injuries to deal with as well. And so there are probably a lot of things in this guy's mind that probably wasn't completely focused on football. I don't know his situation, but I'm rooting for Nate Solder, of course. I want the best tackle to win. I think Andrew Thomas is solidified at left tackle. There's no reason or way you need to move him off a left tackle for 1 year and then put him back on the next year when Nate Solder is done. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense at all. So Matt Peart is going to be in competition with Nate Solder for that right tackle spot. I really hope the best tackle wins, of course, but you guys know I'm going to be rooting on for Matt Peart to win the job. I want the younger guy to win the job, and Nate Solder, probably either is a depth piece, or we could probably let him go. He could I guess suit another team for tackle tackle depth. So that being said, Matt Peart, you guys know, in limited playing time, this guy was great. There are a lot less negatives you can take away from Matt Peart than a guy like Shane Lemieux, who was slated to be starting for the New York Giants at right or left guard. But you look at Matt Peart, I mean, this guy is probably going to, if Nate Solder wins the job, he'll be on the bench, but I think he's a really good tackle to be on the bench. Like, he's going to be a phenomenal swing tackle if he has the same role that he had last year, but I really think this guy is ready to start. Everybody always says, well, we don't have a good sample size enough for him to start him. Then how are you going to get that good sample size? You have to start this guy to get a good sample size. I mean, there's no ways around it. Of course, you could use the preseason, but you got to start this guy. You got to see what he can do. Stop trying to get, bits and pieces about how he plays by, giving him like 20 snaps a game, and especially him not starting these games. It doesn't make any sense. Let Matt Peart play a full season now. Hopefully he wins the job, of course. I want the best tackle to win the job. But if he does win the job, there will be no rotations, okay? Not like last year. Last year was a mulligan. We needed to try things out. We had no preseason. Now we're going into it with a preseason. They have more than enough sample sizes and more than enough tape to really try to see if Matt Peart is worthy of starting. But I guarantee you, if Matt Peart starts at right tackle, I guarantee you we're not gonna be complaining about Matt Peart at right tackle. I promise you that. Matt Peart is ready to start right now. I thought he was ready to start day one. Now with a year under his belt and a pretty good year, if I say so myself, for Matt Peart with limited playing time. So that being said, I think Matt Peart is ready to start. By the way, if Matt Parrott starts, you're going to have the number 1 and number 2 longest wingspan tackles starting together that were drafted in the 2020 NFL draft. Like these two were the longest wingspans of any tackle in that draft, and the fact that they'll be starting together on the same team would be awesome, and I think will provide a strategic advantage for the New York Giants in 2021. All right, next up is Devontae Booker coming in at number 2. By the way, there is no specific order in these guys at all. But Devontae Booker at number 2. Now, I know a lot of people complained about how much he's being paid for being a number 2 running back under a workhorse like Saquon Barkley. But honestly, whether Saquon Barkley is healthy or not, I think we're going to get a good dose of Devontae Booker anyway. Just being that Saquon Barkley coming off that injury, they're probably not going to give him freaking 30 touches a game. I don't think he's ever reach 30 touches a game anyway, so we'll see Devontae Booker maybe quite a bit, maybe not as much as if Saquon was injured, but we're going to see Devontae Booker, and I honestly think he's a really good spell back. He's a guy that can come in, and it'll be like our running back never left. Now, of course, he's not going to be Saquon level, but he can pretty much do what Saquon does, run in between. He could, find the holes right in between the tackles, and when he finds that hole, he bursts right through like Saquon Barkley does. So I really liked Devontae Booker coming out of Utah. I think we're going to learn to appreciate Devontae Booker by the end of this season. And my number one, well, listen, I don't really have an order here, but I really like this player. He's one of the reasons why I made this list. Number 1 sleeper in 2021 for the New York Giants has to be Ellerson Smith. Listen, I love Azeez Ojulari, but I don't think he's a sleeper. I think we're expecting big things from Azeez Ojulari. Maybe not right out the gate, but he was a second-round pick, should have been a first. Let's just put Azeez Ojulari aside for right now. Let's focus on Ellerson Smith. This guy, his game tape, the only tape that we have on Ellerson Smith is when he was playing at like 220 pounds as a 6'7" edge rusher. This guy is absolutely huge, long wingspan, long lanky player, played his Senior Bowl, and he looked like a whole new player. This guy went from like a Leonard Floyd type player, a long lanky player, into like Olivier Vernon. Okay, this guy like weighs damn near close to 260 and is standing at 6'7" right now. So this guy is absolutely huge. He's a force now. He's very strong. I'm hearing that he's developing more pass rush moves as well. Like, nobody knows what this guy can do yet with the weight that he added on. Of course, he played that Senior Bowl game, but adding in the coaching, adding in the weight, maybe he was able to get more power, get stronger, adding in that weight, adding those pass rush moves. We don't know what Ellerson Smith is going to be yet. And if he winds up to be, just a star by, the transformation from 2019 to 2021, if he wanted to be a star, he's going to be one of the best steals in the 2021 NFL draft. Now, I don't expect all of these guys to just blow up and do well. That's not my expectation for these guys, and that's not the point of this video. The point of this video and my expectation for them is to play well and progress, of course, but I'm pretty much just making this video to tell you guys that, don't be shocked if these guys just blow up out of nowhere and just have a phenomenal season. Like I said, it becomes a really good piece of this team in 2021 and helps us win. These guys our names are floating under the radar right now, riding under the radar, that can come to fruition in 2021 during the regular season. So that being said, guys, that is the video. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe if you guys are new. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video.